are in front, and it looks like I wasn't recording this whole time, so apologize for that. So quick recap, since we missed the first races. France won the first race, the 2v2 mixed star race, Black Panther and Judy Fra against Paradicus and CNS Nuremberg. Well, that means therefore a 1-0 for France. And for the second race, well, the French did a pretty good move. Alex K did a huge dial down on Alcalea and Ahab 007, I believe it was, putting both into a penalty. And then Acer, performing our mark trap on the Germans, put all three Frenchmen in the clear in front, meaning that the French now have a 1-2-3 position, which is a guaranteed win for this 3v3 in the Ilka, meaning that it is going to be 2-0, sorry, for France at the end of this round. I don't see anything else happening. Obviously, I could be jinxing it right now. But the French in the clear in front, there's not much going to be happening for the rest of this race. Obviously, the Germans had a tough time. It was a perfect start from the French. All three boats creating this pink line at the front and just covering the three Germans. Two of them continuing onto starboard, one tacking onto port. To reach the Germans, and I'm going to say it's a fairly common strategy by the French when Acer is playing and Alex K as well in the same team. Alex K, a very fast player, is usually going to stay in front and make sure, well, that just having a boat in front, having a good finishing position. So, for example, first place or second place usually is where Alex K finishes. And Acer, a very skilled player as well, is usually hanging in the back and just having fun, putting penalties on the opponents, slowing them down as much as he can. And that's usually a good combo that we see on the French squad. Unfortunately for the Germans, it worked perfectly in this race. I'm sorry again for the recording if you didn't see the first part of it. But a 1-2-3 for the end of this race in the 3v3 Ilka, and we're going to head over after that to the next race, which is going to be a 4v4 in the J70, still the N-shaped course. N-shaped course was the course that we've just seen in the Ilka, starting with an upwind, two reaching legs in second and fourth leg, and a long downwind in the middle. But 1-2-3 for the French, making it 2-0 for the French. Are the Germans going to be able to reply in the next race in the 4v4 J70? We will see that as the three Frenchmen are crossing the finish line with the Germans a bit later. And there we have confirmation of the score, 1-2-3 for the French, as I just said, 4-5-6 for the Germans. And it is a go for race number 3, France versus Germany. Currently 2-0 for France, 4v4 J70 is the third race, still in the N-shaped course. So one upwind reaching, a long downwind, another reaching, and a upwind finish. On the French squad, we're going to find full hydrocell, Alex KRS Capitonio, and Kriegville full hydrocell with the Spanish flag, but he is indeed French. Not sure why he changed it for the Spanish flag after that. And on the German squad, it's a pretty strong German squad, if I can say so myself. It's UL, TK, UL, Luxen, GER 7 and ESG 777. That's the captain, the vice captain, and probably two of the best German sailors in the game. So it's going to be a very competitive matchup, this one. And 4 seconds to go. Pretty good start by the French. Also a decent start by the Germans. We do have full hydrocell in the back with the late start. That might be part of the strategy. In a 4v4, 1 or 2 or 1 and 3. No, it's not that. If you have 1 and 2, you should avoid 7 and 8. So at all costs, try to avoid 7 and 8. And you want to have, what's the sum of that for the 4v4? Yeah, just do not be on 7 and 8 position, and you should have the round. I think it's 19 points. Oh, 36. So 18 points or less for the win. And if there's a tie at 18 points, then the team who did not, well, who had the player who didn't finish first, is going to take the win. Currently, if we snapshot the score, it's going to be a win for the French, 1, 2, 3, and 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the Germans. But this is likely to change in the downwind. Difference with the previous boats, with the J70, obviously, is that you have the SPI. And well, with the SPI, you're going to have a choice to make during the reaching leg. So depending on the wind's angle, you're going to put out the SPI or not to gain some speed, or slow down if you don't if you don't do it in time. And this is often where there could be some confusions and where some teams can overtake some other teams. Now we also see some strategies from different teams. The Japanese, for example, we've seen them perform that several times. Watch out for friendly fire at the mark for the French. A very tight mark rounding, and we see Kriegville not pulling out his SPI, but his French mate Capitonio does. I also thought there was going to be a collision over here. Kriegville might want to pull out the SPI. He's been losing some speed. Obviously, the wind angle favored the SPI in this occasion. But I was saying that the Japanese do have this tactic for the reaching legs, where they would continue to go upwind slightly, so not take out the SPI, and then go downwind on a broad reach to round the mark. And they do that by doing that, it allows them to sail above the opponents if they have any under them. They're not like the French currently with a 1-2-3 position. And by sailing above the opponents, they're going to be able to slow them down first, and then when they put out the SPI in the broad reach, they're usually going to go faster and can also maybe gain some places there. So it's all about control for them, and by doing that, they have better control over their opponents. But as we're speaking here, ULTK is getting close to Alex K. This is going to be an interesting duel. Obviously, we also have ESG 777 right behind him to help him out. Alex TK is going to luff up, try to put the penalty on ULTK, who's bobbing and weaving, trying to avoid it. And Alex K suddenly sandwiched between the two Germans' boat. ULTK is going to try to steer away a bit, stay clear from him, watch out for the penalty. Obviously, if they touch, there is going to be a penalty for one of the players. On the right over there, we still see the two pink sails for the French in front, chased by the two Germans, and the pink sail again behind. Which is a full hydro sail. Alex K decided to leave ULTK alone and focus now on ESG 777. Full hydro sail, meanwhile, has taken a penalty from one of the Germans. We're going to skip, well, we can see him at the top of your screen over there. Being slowed down a lot and trying to avoid these two Germans. And the Germans are doing very well to do that, because if they can push the two French in 7 and 8, then the French are going to lose this round. So there is a choice to be made by Capitonio and Kriegville to try to maybe help out their teammates, but it looks like they're not going to do anything. They're going to continue on to the reaching leg around that third mark, and we'll see if they wait in the upwind or not. GER 7 is also going to continue to sail. Penalty here on Alex K from ESG 777. What an interesting match this was. And UL Luxon waiting for full hydrocell at the mark. Full hydrocell managing to put ULTK in a penalty. Is he going to be able to dodge the Germans' boats? He is staying away from them, but he is under them, so he's going to be slowed down. And Alex K takes another penalty here. ULTK and ESG 777 are going to continue to sail. And Luxon is also in there. He's going to be pushed away by full hydrocell. Taking the penalty by full hydrocell, and that's going to allow Alex K to get back into the mix. This is going to be a very interesting finish between these four boats. The French fighting to avoid the 6 and 7 position, and the Germans doing everything they can to put them into the 6 and 7 position. Full hydrocell without the speed is going to slow down a lot, but that doesn't matter because he is in the mark first and wanting to do a mark trap on Will Luxon, who does well to avoid him. We see ESG 777 coming back for full hydrocell. Alex K managed to bump up to 5th position overall. And at the top of your screen over there, you see Kriegville and Capitonio still sailing, chased by GER 7. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think the French are going to secure this 1st and 2nd position as UL Luxon takes friendly fire and is penalized. And the French suddenly are able to breathe with a 5 and 6. They are no longer in a losing combination. But we see Alex K still having some issue with the ULTK at the lane line over here. Full hydrocell is going to attack. And we see GER 7 coming in back at full speed, trying to position himself above full hydrocell. He's going to try to put the penalty, and Capitonio and Kriegville are not crossing the finish line yet. Watch out, because that can be risky. Kriegville is coming back, but Capitonio has crossed the finish line. So it is a first place guaranteed for the French. Now, if there is a tie at the end, the round is going to go to the Germans. And if the Germans manage to push the French again in the 7 and 8 position, it's going to be a win for them. But currently, French still have the 2nd place. Kriegville is still hesitating on what he should do, but he is going to cross the finish line. And the French are going to be out of 7 and 8 position. And there we have the score confirmation: 1, 2, 5, 7 for the French, 3, 4, 6, 8 for the Germans. It's going to be another French win. 3-0 for the French. And the start procedure is underway for this 4th race for France versus Germany. So France took the previous round again, so currently 3-0 for France. It's their last race if they want to confirm the win for this encounter. Obviously, we're still in the round robin stage, so let me maybe explain how the eSailing Nations Cup scoring works. In the round robin stage, well, we have the 7 teams going against each other, and each win is going to have a each match is going to give each team a different amount of points depending on if they win or if they lose. If they win, they get 3 points, but if they win by a margin, so either with a 6-1 or a 7-0, that is a decisive win, and they get a bonus offensive point, so that makes it 4 points. If they lose the match, they get 1 point, but if they manage to stick to the score, so lose narrowly, that's called a narrow loss, they're going to get a defensive bonus points, making it up to 2. And to get the defensive bonus points, well, if you lose, it's going to be 3-4 or 5-2. It's a start for this fourth round between France and Germany. The offshore racer is the new boat. Well, the boat for this race still in the Inshore course. Very light winds. We're only at 10 knots over here. 13 knots in average on the race course. And well, with the offshore racer, it's a very long boat. It's still fairly maneuverable. But it has this long bowsprit, and the bowsprit can play tricks on the player if they're not careful. Currently 1 and 2 for the French, 1, 2, 3 now, 5 and 8 for the French, and 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 for the Germans as UL Luxen takes a penalty from one of the Frenchmen. And well, with this mark routing, we're going to see 4 French at the head of the fleet. Talk about a flashback for the previous race, and Capitonio doing a mark trap on ESG 777, and he's continued to slow down. He's going to force the Germans to go around him, try to slow them down as much as he can, and give enough space for his 3 teammates at the front, 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, 1, 2, 3. If you get that position, I think you win no matter what happens, even if you get the 9, 10. Well, let's actually calculate that. 1 and 2, 3, 6. And if you had 9 and 10, that's 16, 27 points. And for a 5v5, well, it's 55 points in total. So you want to have 25, 20, 27 points, you win it. 27 or less. Anything more, you will lose it. And so if the French can, keep their 1, 2, 3 position, they're going to get 27 points even with a 7 and 10, well, with a 9 and 10. So, so they're pretty good so far, but the Germans have not finished yet. They are still within reach to change things. And let's have a look at Italy versus Japan. It is currently 2-all. And they're starting their 49er race. As the fleet is rounding the mark. And still 1, 2, 3 for the French. Judy Fra in 4th position. He's going to be able to maybe do a mark trap on the Germans. Penalty here on GER 7, who touches the mark with the 31. And well, with this, it's likely going to be another win for the French, meaning that they take this, take the win in this encounter, and Capitonio at the back taking, first a penalty likely from GER 7, and then a 31 by touching the mark just before GER 7 also takes a penalty from him, or by him. But with the 1, 2, 3, 4, the French have pretty much guaranteed a win for them for this round. And so the interesting part is going to be what happens between Capitonio and GER7. Which one of these two players is going to get 10th place? And it's going to be very tight between these two players. And according to the ranking, it is Capitonio who takes the 9th and 10th for the German GER7. On to race number 5. And start procedure for race number 5 has been given. Currently France with 4 points, Germany with 0. We're going into the 9v9 and the 49er. We're steering away from the N-shaped course, so this is going to be the classic upwind downwind course, with the mark, or the windward mark at the top being left onto port, not on starboard, so the sailors are going to have to adapt to that. This is a different kind of race to what they've, well, compared to the 4 previous races that they've raced. The 9v9 obviously is going to get maybe a little bit of away from classic team racing. 9 boats on each fleet. There's no real winning combinations. Well, the winning combinations is arriving before your opponents, but there's no real strategy like you can find in the 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s, or 5v5s. So, well, in this round, it's kind of like a test for each team to see how deep their pool of players are, how they can perform as well all together in a same fleet. Obviously, there is some sort of strategy that you can apply, and that is just as simple as if I see a teammate struggling next to me, and I can help without losing too many places, then let me do that. Or if I see an opponent next to me that I can penalize and slow down without losing too many places, then I'll do that as well. And well, it's always a bit hard to say at the start how this is going to turn out. So we do see maybe a bit more pink at the top of the leaderboard compared to whites. But we will see how this shuffles. With the 49er, most of the strategy is happening on the upwind. The 49er has a very good upwind speed. But if you steer away too much from the VMG, from the best VMG, which is the velocity made good, so the angle, like the best compromise of going up towards the wind and not losing too much speed. If you steer away too much from that, so if you luff up or if you luff down, you're going to slow down quite a lot. It has a very small wind shadow compared to other boats. It does has a speed as well, so yeah, most of the strategy is going to be on the upwind, taking the correct tacks, the correct wind shifts, trying to find that wind pressure. You don't necessarily need to go into the darker zone with the 49er. You can also stay into the lighter zone. And what I mean by the darker zones is, well, if you look at the mini map at the top left, or even if you look on the water during the race, you'll see some zones are darker, some zones are lighter, and this is to do with the wind pressure, as we see a friendly fire here between Full Hydrocell and Judifra on the French side. And so when the water is darker, that means that they have more wind, and usually that's where you want to go, because more wind, more pressure, you go faster. But with the 49er, it doesn't matter that much because it is a fast boat. Already, same with the J70. The J70 on the upwind is more or less capped at 6 knots. So if on the dark zone you're going at 6 knots, but in the light zone you're also going at 6 knots, then you might want to prefer taking the correct shift or having some clean air. As the French currently in 1, 2, 3, 4, but Ruel Luxon in the mix as well, and he can do some damage to these French boats at the top of the leaderboard. As Luxon is rounding the mark, the first downwind gate in 4th position. He with a Paradicus, maybe ESG 777 once he comes out of this penalty, where Slider Klaus are the Germans who are going to be able to do some damage to the French fleet, because in the top 9 it is French dominated so far with 6 players. They're going to need to try to find a way to slow down the French players and allow their fleets to catch up to them and swap places. So this second upwind, let's see what Iwa Luxon is doing. He's currently being slowed down by Kriegville, who is sailing just above him and putting in his wind shadow. You see with the 49er, they have to be very close to make that wind shadow effective. And Kriegville is not going to let go of him and is going to tack and sail above him again. We currently have 14.7 knots on Iwa Luxon. He's going at 9.8, Kriegville at 10.6. And if we switch to Gifra darker patches, he's going to 11.4. He's going to attack and he's going to take speed again. Yeah, going above 11 knots. Let's focus back on Uwe Luxon. Currently in 5th, the highest placed German at this moment. But he is being followed by a fair amount of Germans, so doing a penalty, mark trap, over here is kind of risky, because he could also slow down his teammates. You don't want to do that. You want to slow down your opponents to give the advantage to your teammates. But he has swapped places with Capitonio and is now in 6th place as the French rush towards the finish line. And this might be another win for the French. And a penalty here on Luxon from Capitonio. Just doing even more damage to the Germans. The first French players are going to cross the finish line very soon, and they are doing it as I said that. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for the French. GER 7 is likely going to be able to maybe take that 5th position. Or maybe Capitonio is going to steal it from him. We will see the confirmation after. Let's focus at the back of the fleet over here. A lot of players coming in. We see Guin-Suluk, Stéphane Gazin in penalty, 2 French boats in penalties, allowing some Germans to pass in front. Will that be enough? We will see with the score tally in just a moment. And so race number 6 is going to start. We're going back to the 3v3 J70 mixed this time. So Barbie and Paradicus are joining. Well, Barbie is coming back. She missed the first race in the 2v2. Mixed race was Black Panther. Paradicus is coming back. She did the first 2v2. Sailing Me and Slider Cross are going to accompany Sailing Me, and Barbie is going to be accompanied by Crickville and Acer. And a penalty on Crickville given by Sailing Me. Acer managed to sail away. I wonder what the strategy is going to be for both teams. We're seeing some new names. Well, focusing on new names, they were here on the previous race. And well, we're back on the N shape, as I said. So like the first races, it's going to be an upwind reaching a long downwind, reaching an upwind with the J70. So we're second time you're racing in that boat, we're going to have to take the speed out or not for the reaching leg. But it is going to be a battle between Acer Paradicus and Sliderklaus to reach this first mark. The ranking is giving the advantage to Acer, who is not going to need it to. Well, they're all going to attack, but he might be able to reach the mark first. But it is Sliderklaus first in the mark zone, but leaving the mark zone before entering it again. Acer continuing to sail and is taking the penalty from Sliderklaus, allowing Paradicus to sail above and maybe Sailing Me as well. So Acer is going to be very close to two Germans, and the Germans have the 1 and 2 position, which is a winning position in a 3v3. If they can keep to this 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, they would have taken that round from the French. And well, with the beginning of this downwind, it's going to be a clear advantage to the Germans in terms of ranking. It's 1, 2, 3 for the Germans, 4, 5, 6 for the French. But the French are very close behind, so they're going to be able to slow them down a lot. And we see a battle over here between Sailing Me and Barbie. Barbie taking the penalty from Sailing Me. And Kriegville is going to come in trying to get Sailing Me to follow him so that Barbie can maybe focus on Paradicus. Meanwhile, Acer is out of any German wind shadow. He's going to get close to Kriegville and tack over Sliderklaus. And well, everyone is paired up against an opponent. We will see which pod will take the advantage, but the 1, 2, 3 advantage that the Germans had, or the 1, 2, and 1 and 3 they had during the reaching and the start of the downwind, has been lost, and currently the French have the 1 and 3 position, which is the winning combination. We will see how the Germans do. And Sailing Me with a penalty, but 2 Germans still in 1 and 2, so Sailing Me finishing last. If Slider Klaus or Paradicus can maintain the first position and the second position or third position, they're going to win this round, and they're not slowing down. They're going to reach this first upwind first. Well, this last upwind first. Sorry, getting confusing the words. And a penalty here on Sailing Me Kriegville, slowing down the German Acer. It looks like he is sailing away. And the Germans are still in a very comfortable position over here, managing to keep their 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 position. And it's going to be very hard for the French to do anything with this configuration. And well, Slider Klaus and Paradicus are going to reach this finish line first, followed by Barbie and Kriegville, very likely Sailing Me in fifth, giving the first round to, well, the first German round to Germany, basically. Germany getting their first round. And there we have confirmation of the score. 1-2-5 for the Germans. They have won their first round, and 3-4-6 for the French. And the final race is a go 4v4 in the F50. The F50 is a very fast boat, so it's going to be very technical here. On the French side, we have Acer, Guinsuluk, Full Hydrocell, and Stéphane Gelzin. On the German side, Covadis, Ahab 007, Dragoni Martini, and Slider Klaus. F50, we're going to be in a different type of course. Obviously, you see the boundaries. The course is going to be much tighter, smaller starting area, and well, it's going to be a reaching start. So reaching, starboard reaching on the start, leading into a downwind gate. It's going to be upwind, downwind, and a port reaching finish. With the F50, obviously, it's going to be a lot of speed involved. So the players are going to start far from the start line to gain as much speed as they can for when they hit the start line. They were at maximum speed, maximum velocity. Obviously not necessarily, but reaching that first reaching mark and downwind gate is a huge advantage for the rest of the race. We've rarely seen teams come back from it by having a wobbly start, and it was a great start from Dragoni Martini, who is going to be the first one to reach the mark. Full Hydrocell is going to try to put a penalty on Slider Klaus, but misses it. And it's going to be 2 Germans on the lead in this first downwind leg. Quo Vadis with the penalty behind, so it's going to be 1 and 2 for the Germans, 7 and 8. 3, 4, 5, 6 for the French. But the Germans currently in a winning combination, and as I say that in a losing combination in 4v4, you want to avoid the 7 and 8 position. If you're not in 7 and 8, but you have the 1 and 2 position, then you are good to go. As they are sneaking into the podium as well, maybe the French are going to be able to catch up a bit on the Germans and put a penalty on 1 or 2. They're going to want to catch up to this podium and slow one of the boats down. The boats are fairly close to each other, so a penalty can definitely mean that can completely mean that they can catch up. And as I was saying, that this shift and tack made that we now have 2 French on the podium. Slater Klaus giving his position to 2 of the French people he likely had to dial down to avoid anything. And Dragoni Martini is going to be the first one to reach the downwind, but maybe he doesn't want to go too fast because all of his teammates are at the back. Watch out for friendly fire. Watch out for friendly fire here between Slider Klaus and Quovadis. Quovadis having to do this maneuver, which is going to slow him down a bit. Slider Klaus, who was a bit too much face to the wind, slowed down considerably, and suddenly there is a rather big gap between the last French and the first, or in the second German total. Dragoni Martini not slowing down. He's going to go continuing to the gate, start this last upwind mark, and the French are going to do just the same thing, keeping to the side in this wind pressure. You're going to see the wind shadow of the F-50s to the side or behind the boat, and that's because, well, the F-50 is actually faster than the wind. You see that there was, well, now like around a bit less than 20 knots currently, and Gansuryuki was still going to at like 40 knots speed. Last upwind, the Germans still have Dragoni Martini in first position, but then it is only some French people as Seafo Hydrocell, Stefan Gazin, Gansuryuk in 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the Germans closing the march. Well, the rest of the Germans closing the march with 6, 7, 8. And onto the last leg, Dragoni Martini taking a penalty from Acer. But still fighting to be on the podium, and Acer is going to do his best to block him, putting another penalty on him. And I'm guessing the French just want to make the statement that we want the 1, 2, 3, 4 position. Currently, they do have 1, 2, 3, and Dragon Martini is going to go to do his best to reach the finish line. Was he able to cling on that 4th place? We will see. But the race is now finishing and is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for the French, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the Germans. Final score, sorry, France 6, Germany 1. A decisive win for the French, adding 4 points to their standings, 1 point to the Germans. Well fought by the Germans. They did win this 3v3 mixed J70. And again, there were several times where the Germans had the advantage, but the French managed to reverse that and will turn that advantage to in their favor. Well, final score 6 for France, 1 for Germany. Thank you all for watching. This has been some very nice races to watch, and we'll see you all in the next race for the eSailing Nations Cup. Bye.